Running a business will look different for everyone at any point in time. But one thing that we all have in common is that we have to diversify and we have to stop relying on social media. I'm not saying you have to ditch it. I'm not saying you have to stop posting, but you should live a little bit more social media optional because you deserve time where you can log off and not worry about if you're going to get a client, if you're going to make a sale, or any and all of the above. This series was originally meant to be an entire podcast, but I missed my OG show, and now this is a series that I hope you can listen to and enjoy. Welcome to the Blogging and SEO show. I'm Michaela, a stay-at-home mom of 3 who just happens to be in love with everything related to SEO, blogging, marketing, coffee, and shedding light into the many mystifying corners of search engine optimization. And what that means for us service providers, small business owners, and even bloggers. We're ditching the do-it-all narrative surrounding SEO and blogging and just sitting down and crafting strategies that are sustainable but still get us those first page, long-lasting results. Now let's get cozy, grab your fave sweater and a cup of tea or coffee, and let's talk everything blogging and SEO. You literally can't not be social media optional. Like, you can't rely on social media platforms to carry your business for years because they are truly, and just like any other platform, truly volatile. And putting all your eggs in one basket can essentially bite you in the butt. So we kind of covered that. But what we didn't cover is exactly how you can do that. Like, sure, you need to focus on this platform and this platform, but you're still constantly creating. And yeah, it's exhausting. It is literally exhausting. Like, there's no other way around it. Sure, we have our good days where we're like, yeah, this is easy, creativity's flowing, but like, I don't know about you, I get into my period a little bit and then I'm like, ooh, I don't want to make anything anymore. Like those 2 days before and then that first day of, I'm like, you cannot get me to do anything. But that kind of brings us to today's episode concept. I don't know about title, but like concept here. And it's that you need to create systems to take the content that you're creating and put it on other platforms and let those platforms do the work for you. And yes, I've talked about like being social media optional, but some of us just really love to create carousels. And if you're listening to this, maybe that's not you, but like, we all have types of content that we really feel like confident in its creation. The problem is the visibility that we get from said content is not enough to like carry us. So we have to take that content, or you should take this content and put it on other platforms. And I'm not a content repurposing genius. Like, that's not who I am. I'm an SEO. I am a blog content writer who focuses on SEO. So those are my two like areas of specialty, and they go they're very close together. But when you're content repurposing, obviously I have a preference for taking it into blog form. But as someone who has worked as a writer for a content repurposing agency and has seen like the results of repeating your message across multiple places, even if you're using the same core piece of content. I have seen LinkedIn posts, and I have helped transform LinkedIn post into carousels, a static post. It's turned into a podcast, a blog post that is targeted to a keyword. And the same goes for podcast episodes. I've taken podcast episodes and literally turned them into short form videos. Or at least I did the caption part. I'm not a video editor over here, but I've turned them into blog posts. That's actually like one of my favorite things to do. And instead of being limited to that initial visibility, that content is able to continue to work for you, whether that's short term, long term, whatever it may be, but that you can get more life out of that content. That is the goal. Like, that's how you keep the momentum, really. But the way that you really do this is you pick the platform that you feel most comfortable on, or that you like maybe do the heftiest post. So for me, that's probably podcast here because I sit here and record and talk to you. Maybe YouTube, but I mainly do how-tos over there. So that's probably not going to translate very well. And then blogs. Like those are probably my 3 most comfortable. And I would say like sometimes I get really into carousels on Instagram. But normally the carousels come from those 3 other places. So I know those 3 places are what I feel comfortable creating on. And I could narrow it down to even one, like the podcast or the blog. Probably not YouTube because, like I said, I do a lot of like how-tos on that. And that's not going to translate very well into my other stuff, or at least not as easily. So I want to pick something, and you want to pick something that is actually a little bit easier on your brain. So some things are going to be easier to repurpose than others. And you'll notice that once you get into the feeling of it. And talking about this makes me feel like I need to get Felly on here again. Felly she runs FD Studios, and she is the content repurposing agency that I used to write for, or currently write for, really. She is the content repurposing studio that I've worked with. And this has always been one of, I would say, like one of my favorite topics to talk with her, because she really does have a really good framework for this. But you take that and you turn it into the platforms that you want or need to show up on. I always say blogging because of, the SEO benefits, whereas a singular podcast, I think the top 50% of podcasts only get like 30 downloads a week in that first week per episode. And then even in like the top 2%, you're only getting about 1,000 downloads. And that's only in the first 7 days. And it like drastically drops down, which is kind of a bummer. Or say it's a carousel, you kind of max out on likes there for a minute. And unless you get like a really lucky one, it kind of drops off after about a week, if it's even lasted that long. But with a blog post, you have it where it exists for a while. So just to like put actual numbers to this, one of the students from Pod to Blog, the program that I ran that finished like mid-July was the end of it. And it's currently, when I'm recording this, August 12th. So she's only been graduated out of the program for about a month. But one of the blog posts that she wrote from her podcast, and, she did the whole Pod to Blog thing, which was the point of the program, but it got 44 new people to it in the last 30 days. And it's rising up. So like yesterday was 4 new people. And since it's trending up, I mean, there's no telling where it would go. But I'm thinking that the minimum average is going to be 3 to 4 people a day once it evens out, which, I mean, 3 to 4, let's go 3 people times 30 days, that's 90 people to that post made from the podcast episode per month. And then you take that, you multiply it by 12 months. So not quite 3,000, but 1,080 people. So on average, she can expect to have 1,000 people find her through that blog post this year. And that's, she does the work of turning it into a blog post, and she doesn't have to touch it again. And it can continue for years. So compound that by the average blog post lasts for 2 years. Or, well, it doesn't last for 2 years, but it hits its like plateau of when it's not going to grow anymore. It's kind of like averaged out on how many people, where it's going to rank and how many people are going to see it each month. But say it's 2 years, that's 2,160 people. Say it goes on for 5 years, that's 5,400 people that could find her from this one Pod to Blog post. So yeah, like when I say that I'm pretty down for repurposing, that's what I mean. But you can do the same for like taking your podcast episodes and repurposing it onto YouTube, because YouTube is another organic platform, or taking your YouTube videos and clipping them and putting them onto social media platforms. Like, you have so much leeway with the content that you create. You don't have to worry about creating new content all the time. It's just getting a little strategic about the content you currently have, right? And there's different ways to do that, and it's going to be different for everybody. But one thing to think going into that is before you even think about, but then once you find that platform that you're feeling good about, and you find what type of content you want to repurpose it to, that's when you can kind of pull apart the pieces you want to bring over. You know what I mean? So like maybe you did a list of 3 key things, or maybe you talk about the benefits of repurposing. And so when it comes into another piece of content, that's what that piece of content is going to be about. Or maybe from when I was talking about the student and pod to blog in this episode, that could be something I pull out and create a separate carousel about. I can look at the transcript, even catch the audio and clip it and put it into another platform, truly. I mean, obviously, there's a few tweaks you have to do to make it platform friendly, but that content is already created. You don't have to keep creating and being on this hamster wheel 24/7. Like that's not what we want business to be about. But anyways, if you have any questions about like content repurposing or how to bring different types of content into like blog posts, or if you're already doing that but you're not kind of seeing results, like feel free to send me an email, DM me on Instagram, or just get in touch somehow. Like I'm pretty much anywhere and everywhere. And we can talk it out because it might not be, it's probably not your content. Your content's probably really, really good because you know your shit. Like you do this every day. This is what you know like the back of your hand. But different platforms require different structures, different strategies, different content performs differently. So you just have to know that process of point A to point B. And likely you're just skipping a step in between there that you didn't know existed. And honestly, you don't know what you don't know. So no one's blaming you. But that is it for today. I'm going to say that one more time. But that is it for today. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. But talk soon. As always, I hope you were able to learn at least one new thing today and how you can apply it to your own business or blog. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Blogging and SEO Show. Don't forget to hit follow so you don't miss the next episode. I promise it's a goodie. And check the show notes for everything we talked about today. And come connect with me on Instagram at comamama.co. If you have any questions or thoughts you want to share, DM me. Let's chat. Until next time, talk soon.